Hey, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at a few different ways that you can use sample libraries that you already own and create some unique sound designs. I'm going to give you 3 different ways. I'm going to make this up on the spot as I go, so it's not going to be the best kind of end result that you might have if you spent maybe, half an hour tweaking individual sounds, whereas I'm trying to get through this as fast as I can for the purposes of this video. But you'll get the idea of what you can do using these principles and techniques. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. This is just a world of possibilities right here, okay? So we're going to look at just a few ways that you can start thinking of how you can tweak these things. So let's dive in. Here I've just got this drones patch loaded up from Jaeger. So obviously that kind of thing in itself is just an amazing thing that you can use to set the tone. Now, for example, let's go into something a little bit higher like pings, for example. I'm going to show you some cool stuff. All right, let's record that. Cool. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm just going to play around with a few things. So I've bounced that in place. So we've got this sound here. Let's try pitching this down and let's just see what this sounds like if we do this. Another one. Another one. And now let's time stretch it. So I'm going to hold down Alt and drag this, and you can see you can adjust that. You can do that with MIDI as well. That's a really useful tip. Let's try this out. This might sound like garbage, but let's see. Okay, this is cool. Let's stretch it out even more. Is that as far as we can go? Okay. This is just, I'm just messing around with things here. Another octave. So maybe make this a little bit lower in the mix. By lowering the mix, I'm not just having it all down a full octave, we can hear some of that previous octave. So if I turn it off, that's cool. I feel like we need to distort this a little bit. Let's go into here, decapitator. That's pretty cool. All right, so that's something there. We've created a whole new sound. So you can see that even if you have some sort of higher sound, sometimes it's really cool when you pitch that down quite a few octaves. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4 octaves down, and you have a very different kind of sound to it. So in a way, you can take a library that you have, like we took this from Jaeger, for example, and you have all the drones and everyone's going to be using those drones, which is cool. Everyone can use them. But what if you try and create your own drone with something like this, right? Just a few plugins on there. The only one that you'd have to buy here is Decapitator. The rest are free plugins in Logic, and I'm sure any of the most of the DAW should have something like this. Now, we can put some reverb on. I would put this on Ascend rather than as an insert like this, but for the sake of this video, let's just do this. Let's actually try and extend this even further. Here's something interesting that we can do. So we've got to bounce this in place. Let's just call it reverse like that. It's going to have all the effects baked in. Okay, let's do that twice. All right, so let's bounce this in place. Here we go. You can actually call it something else, but anyway, let's go in here, reverse. Cool. We can actually make it reverse in like a drone. Well, not reverse in, but it's give it a bit more shape. So let's do something like this. I'm doing this super fast, so I don't know what this is going to actually end up sounding like. Let's just do a fade in. Let's just try a few things out. Let's start from 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe here. Fade this in. We could put these in a track stack so we can process them together, like this. Do a bit more processing. And again, you can do some more mixing to this. But you notice that reverb is helping smoothen out some of that distortion. And there you go. You've got a nice little drone there. Easy peasy, right? That's a quick drone that you can make like that. So let's call this low drone.
Quick interjection in this video. I just want to mention I do apologize about the setup at the moment. I haven't got the lights that I normally have for these videos, which is why I haven't been making as many of these kind of videos. But I am trying to figure out a better setup at the moment with the small space that I have. I'm trying to set up the lighting in a way that won't be such a hindrance with floor space and things like that. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'm just letting you know that it will be changing soon. Let's get back to the video.
Let's move on to something else. Let's get something completely different. Let's just stick with the same library while we're here. Yeah, let's get some violins. This is a really cool thing that I like to do with creating some pads. So we want this. Let's just program a little thing here so I don't have to. All right, let's just do a bit of quantizing because this looks a bit messy. You don't always want to do 100% because it's, I'm going to give a bit of realism to this. Pretend that they are real players. I've just turned on MIDI chase, which will help to basically, if I want to, I can play in the middle of a note and it will actually play something, which is really good. All right, I think I accidentally did some of this. We don't want any of that. Quick tip for you if you're using Logic, Command Y will cycle through different automations that you've got. So like this, I'm on the modulation, CC1, which is also the mod wheel, and that's controlling the dynamics that the string players are playing. So let's just shape this a bit more. This looks a bit, doesn't need to be perfect anyway, because we're going to change this into something pretty different. So we could create this into a cool kind of pad, but what I'm going to do is give it some sort of rhythmic aspect to it. Let's just do this. Let's start with the rhythmic side of it. Soundtoys Tremolator is absolutely fantastic for this sort of thing. So we want to make this sound more like some sort of synth, right? So let's just have a play around. We could have some of those mids in there, some of the more nasal frequencies, but I usually use this as a layer in a thicker texture of some sort of hybrid orchestral track where you don't necessarily want loads of mids in there. So I would kind of cut this out and just sort of have that top end kind of airiness to it. But let's keep it in for now and let's just see what we can create. So here's the cool part. I like this delay in Logic, stereo delay. Let's slow that down a little bit more though. Now let's add some reverb. I'm just sort of messing around here. Again, you would mix this in the context of the track that you're working in. But you know, you could save this as a preset, save it as a channel strip setting or as a performance or whatever. And you could have a really cool, different, unique kind of pad that's completely playable. And then we could do something like, okay, before we add black hole in there, let's do some pitch shifting. Let's have some fun with it. Because again, higher pitch things sound really cool when they're pitched down. So we could do this, for example, to the cellos and just leave them at the register that they are. But I think this will, again, sound really interesting and it'll change it. It won't sound as much like violins. Let's add the tremolator in one more time. That might give us a bit more punch in there. Let's see. So that's something there. Lots of things we can do. Let's do one more thing. Let's try something else. For example, here's something that I like to do. Say we've got our percussion. Let's just go for the hits. Let's record a few of these sounds and then bounce them out. Cool. Let's bounce this out into it. Actually, let's chop these up first, so it's very obvious which one's which. I'm just doing Command T here, in case you're wondering what that is, how I'm doing this quickly. There we go. These key commands are very useful. Let's just call this hit 1. Let's call it. The reason I'm doing this is that it is just easier working with audio to manipulate it. So if you've never really done this sort of thing, don't be afraid to do it. And also you then don't need to have this as an instrument, a software instrument. You can just have it as audio. Really easy to manipulate things and do that. So let's get rid of that. We know these are our hits. Let's get them closer together just so we can quickly audition how they all sound. I'm thinking this one has good potential though. So let's move it over here so we're out of the way of the other audio files. Check this out. There's a few things we can do. So let's just create a loop. Okay, let's do some pitching. We're going to try and basically create a sub boom. That's more like it. Now just throw on a reverb of your choice. Okay, so that one didn't exactly work, but that's fine. Let's move one of these onto the same thing. Probably play these at too much of a high velocity. It's usually better to do a softer velocity with these kind of booms and just turn the volume up. Okay, that might work. Maybe I just didn't do a very good job with selecting these, but we'll get there. Let's just see what these all sound like, you know, pitch down. Quite liked that last one. Might be some potential in that. Okay, in this instance, what I've done here, it isn't the best kind of example for maybe those kind of low sub booms. However, you can see some of these could turn into cool textures in the sense of like a dramatic underscore or a kind of horror underscore where it's just a bit unsettling, unnerving. And this is the beauty of sound design. You just got to try a bunch of things and see what works. Maybe we need to actually beef these up a little bit. Let's turn that EQ off just for now. So this is what we had. Oh, that's off now. So we had it like this. That's the raw sound. All right, and that's it. There's just 3 ways that you can use your sample libraries and create some interesting, unique sound design that's completely unique to you. I just encourage any of you who've never done this before to just give this a go. Try and create your own unique sounds, save them as presets, export this. Obviously, if you're using sample libraries like this, the end user license agreement forbids you from obviously selling this. So do not do this to then go and sell these as your own samples. That is not okay. Don't do that. But you can absolutely use this in your own compositions. There's a new track I've got coming out soon that is using just nucleus. Basically, there are some deep sub-booms in that, and I used just nucleus for that, but I used the percussion and tuned some of the, I think it's the toms down, and they sounded great with some of the processing I've done on that. I will play one of those sounds here. So yeah, you'll hear that soon in that track, and I will be doing some sort of walkthrough video about that. If that's already up by this point, I'll link it up somewhere here that you can go check it out. Please just go out there and try out some sound design stuff. If you've got recordings that you can do, even of things like, you know, try hitting surfaces, different surfaces, and then designing them with sound design like this. There's a bunch of cool ways to do that. I'm by no means a sound design pro at all. I just do this to enhance Why am I even trying to say? I just use sound design to try and enhance my own compositions basically and create unique sounds in there. There's so much potential of what you can do with sound design. So go try it out yourself. Reverb is your friend in a lot of cases. And I hope you found some useful tips in this. If you did, let me know down below in the comments what your biggest takeaway was from this video. Also, if you have any techniques or tips regarding sound design that might be useful to other people, leave them down below in the comments. And if you found this video useful, please give it a like and maybe share it with someone who might find it useful as well. That's it for this video today. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.